faced with if you're new to the gun market. If you aren't extremely familiar with guns, whether you're a woman or a man, this should be helpful to you to not sound super dumb when you're talking about guns with other people who know about them. I'm really excited to make this video. First thing is flagging. Anytime that you are holding a pistol, you should, or any weapon, you should never point it at anything that you don't want to hurt, kill, or destroy, is what True Exodus says, which I went to his class and he's fantastic. Effectively, don't point your weapon at something that you don't want to shoot. That's how people get shot by accident. So flagging is when you do point it at someone that you don't mean to kill. So this is flagging. I'm flagging you right now. Don't do that. All right, next is semi-automatic versus a revolver. A revolver is, if you think about like old Western movies, those are the guns that they're typically carrying. So they've got the cylinder with 5 bullets that go around in a circle, real long barrel, and the hammer comes back. Sorry, hammer is a gun term. The thing that like sticks out the back, you pull it down. A semi-automatic is what I have and is what I think that all women should carry, because I've never seen someone shoot with a revolver better than a semi-automatic without practicing first. So this is a semi-automatic. What that means is it has a slide and the magazine looks like this. So this is how you load rounds or bullets into your weapon. So this is a semi-automatic. This is also a Glock. So if you hear someone say Glock, that's a brand of a gun, not a specific gun, if that makes sense. So Glock makes lots of different guns. Ruger is another one, Smith & Wesson, H&K, those are all brands. Next thing is a slide. So that is what I talked about before. This right here is a slide. And racking your slide is pulling this back and releasing it. So if you are a woman or a guy with not a lot of upper body strength, like myself, you want to take the advice that my boyfriend gave me, which is you want to hold your slide in the back, hold it like that with your non-dominant hand. Then with your dominant hand, push forward and then release with your non-dominant. So in my case, I'm right-handed. So left goes on top, I push with my right hand and then let go with my left. That makes it a lot easier than trying to figure out like how to get enough strength to pull this thing back. A lot of people also pull it like this. That's a lot of motion that you don't need. If you were in a gunfight and you needed to quickly rack your slide, you want to have it real close to yourself, not like out. That takes practice. That's not super easy, but eventually your muscles, as you can tell, I have 0, but I'm pretty good at racking a slide because I've taught my muscles how to do it. Next trigger pull is this motion, pulling it until it goes bang. The idea is whenever you are shooting, you don't want to start from the beginning every time. You want to get to the breaking point and hold until you're ready to fire, and that's when you go. That allows you to be more accurate because you aren't moving as much. Like your finger isn't moving, so your gun isn't moving. Does that make sense? Whenever you're pulling your trigger back, you always want to be sure that you're using this part of your finger and pulling it straight back. Semi-automatic weapons, most of them have a reset. So whenever you are shooting your weapon, what it does is when you pull this trigger, the bullet goes out, the slide goes back, and comes back forward automatically. So if you keep your trigger pressed, you can let it out halfway until you guys heard that click, hopefully, and now it's reset and ready to go again. If you don't do that, it goes out further, and so it takes more time and more movement to get it back to bang, if you will. You may hear, if you ever go in a gun store, watch videos or listen to people talk, people will say heavy trigger pull or a light trigger pull. That just means the pounds of pressure that it takes to pull your trigger back. I like a light trigger pull because I don't have a lot of strength. Try them all out, figure it out. I used to have a heavy trigger pull weapon and I hated it, so that's why I like light trigger pulls. Next is your sight picture. On every weapon, there are back sights and front sights. Line those up so that they're straight across and in line. The idea is to get the same sight picture every time. If you train yourself to get the same sight picture every time, you're gonna be more accurate. Whenever you're practicing at home, every time that you pull it out and go forward, you want to see the same thing every time, because that means you've got that muscle memory that every time that I push my gun out, it's going to the same place. So I don't have to go find my sights in order to shoot the person or thing that I need to shoot. Next is a safety. Glocks don't have an external safety, so they do have this little thing. So if I try to pull this trigger from the side, if I was carrying it in my purse without a holster, which isn't a good idea, and something tried to get in there and like pull the trigger, unless you're compressing that little thing, That's the only safety that a Glock has. Typically other weapons have it around this area. I had a Ruger LC9, that's where it was, and so effectively you just push it down and then it's ready to fire. If that safety is on, you can't pull your trigger. There are lots of different schools of thought on safeties. You can look those videos up. I clearly like not having one because I carry a Glock. Next is hammer fire versus striker fire. This isn't extremely important in all transparency. I don't fully understand the difference between striker fire and hammer fire, but I'm going to share what I know, and then you can go Google it and figure it out. A Glock is striker fire. There's nothing on the back of this Glock here. It all happens internally. Hammer fire is, or a hammer type gun, is where there's an actual hammer thing. It's not like literally a hammer, it's just what it's called. It's a metal piece that goes down every time you shoot it. Revolvers have a hammer in them. There are semi-automatic weapons that are hammer fire. Google it if you want more information. Next are calibers. So if someone says I have a 9mm, I have a 380, I have a 22, 38 special, all those things are called calibers. It's basically the size of the bullet that you're putting in it. Lots of schools of thought on what you should and should not carry. You can Google all the different calibers. I encourage you to shoot them all to figure out which one you want. I carry a 380 because it's small. It fits my hand really well. Notice my hands are like little tiny baby hands. Well, this is called a single stack. What that means is the magazine stacks one bullet on top of each other. This is a double stack, so there's 2 rounds next to each other. Make sense? Double, single, easy peasy, right? Mine's single stack, which means it's thinner, so I can conceal it easier. Next is a magazine. Do not call this a clip. Like literally, that's the #1 thing that I know this person's a gun person or they're not a gun person. If you call this a clip, you're not a gun person. This is a magazine. It's how you get rounds into your weapon. There's a hole at the bottom of a semi-automatic pistol. This is the front of the magazine. Goes towards the front of the gun, go figure. Insert until it clicks, and then you're good to go. Next, you'll hear some people say 6 + 1, 7 + 1, whatever. The first number is the number that your magazine holds by itself. And the +1 is if you carry 1 in the chamber. Like if it's ready to fire, literally I pull this and I'm shooting. The Glock 42 carries 6 + 1. I carry 1 in the chamber. Big thing, know how many rounds your gun holds. That's extremely important. Next, you'll hear the term hollow point. That refers to a type of bullet. The bullet itself is hollow at the end. Instead of a point, it is hollow. You can watch all kinds of like videos on what that does and read all about it, but it's just a type of bullet. I feel like you hear it a lot. Next is dry fire. That is the art, if you will, basically of practicing shooting your gun without actually sending rounds down range. This is paramount if you want to be good with your weapon. Like, do it all the stinking time. The dry part means you aren't shooting something out and you're firing it. The best dry fires though are practicing from wherever you carry your weapon and deploying it and firing it on a target. So I'll show you what a dry fire looks like. Okay, so if I were to dry fire, this is where I carry my pistol. I would pull my gun, pull, deploy, and fire. In the beginning, you really just want to be pulling your gun up, like pulling your weapon up, aiming at something, making sure you're on target, and firing. Then eventually you'll start from back here, push forward, fire as you go out. Then you'll go through the whole process after that, of like putting your gun up, pulling it out, going straight out, all that good stuff. Next thing are carry positions. If you ever hear the words appendix carry, 4 o'clock, those are the main ones you hear. You can Google the other ones. Appendix carry means it is right in front of your appendix, so it's generally right here, maybe on the other side if you're left-handed. It's in the front. 4 o'clock carry means that it's, if your body was a clock, it would be at 4 o'clock. So it's right here. Never put your weapon all the way on your back, because if you fall down, you could break your back. So next, I want to tell you guys what some malfunctions are called. Guns are machines, so sometimes machines break or don't work exactly right. So you need to arm yourself with the knowledge of how to fix these things. So I'm going to tell you what they're called so you can Google it and watch videos and all that good stuff. So first is failure to feed. So that means that you have rounds in your magazine, but when you shoot it, it does that. It just clicks. There's no rounds exiting the chamber. There was a round that should have gone in that didn't. Next is a double feed. It's a lot like failure to feed, but in reverse almost. So basically 2 rounds tried to go in at the same time. And then a stovepipe, basically what happens is, this is your full round, right? So this part goes forward into whatever you're shooting at, and this part just holds the gunpowder to eject it forward. This silver part gets ejected out of this little square thing, technical term. So a stovepipe is where this silver part, in this case, casing, goes up like this, and the slide gets jammed. I don't want to do it with an active round, and I don't have any empty casings laying around right now. I probably do, I just don't know where they are. Sorry, I can't exactly demonstrate it, but basically right there, like it would get stuck. And so you'd have to clear that out before you're able to shoot again. And last but not least, you'll hear the term tap, rack, bang. Tap, rack, bang. What that is everyone's like go-to for how to fix malfunctions. Empty, good to go. Empty magazine. So I have a magazine in, click, nothing happens. My first step is tapping the bottom, racking the slide, bang. So that's tap, rack, bang. See all the things you learn? Just hanging out with cool people and watching videos and going to classes. So those are the top things that came to mind when I started thinking about what do people need to know who are new to weapons. So I'm sure, like positive, that I forgot stuff. So if you are watching this video and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she forgot this thing, comment below and like tell me, but more importantly, tell the other people who are potentially, hopefully, watching this video what they need to like Google and figure out before they get on a firing line, and try to figure it all out from there.